Good morning. Welcome to the Community Review on Hot 92.3. I'm Josefa Salinas, your host. You know how much I love this city. I worked hard with Mayor Garcetti to get him where he is now, and you see the amazing changes that he is making in this city. I work hard with a lot of the city council people, our congressmen, our senators in Washington, D.C., to make sure that they hear our voices and know what our concerns are. I take very seriously making sure that the people in charge know what you want as a community. With me in studio today is a man that I feel is going to be the next sheriff of Los Angeles. That is a huge, huge burden. It is a huge, huge job. It is a huge, huge thing to tackle, taking on what I believe is the largest in the country.
That's right.
There are some pretty big shoes to fill. Sheriff Baca was an incredible sheriff for years. He was on my show many, many times, and we cannot take away from what this man did, the jail-based education program that he worked so diligently with Hacienda La Puente to put in place, and it thrived for 30 years, really making a difference in our jail systems. The very innovative programs that I saw him develop and make with his staff, develop and make come to life. Sheriff Baca did an amazing job, and then there were some things that weren't so great. With us in studio today is a man who was there, who's seen some of it, and was not in a position to make changes, but wants to be in a position to make changes. Personally, I feel somebody who was there, who witnessed both the good and the bad, might have a pretty good handle on how to move things forward. So with us today, Assistant Sheriff James Helmold. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to be here. I appreciate it.
It's wonderful to have you here, and congratulations, and I guess good luck.
That's right.
You know, with this endeavor, because this is a huge, huge task that you are undertaking.
It's a huge undertaking, but I'm committed to this department. I'm committed to Los Angeles County, and most importantly, I'm committed to the community. I love Los Angeles just like you do, and I've spent the last 25 years of my life committed to real reform within the Sheriff's Department. And I am so proud of our community, but we have a lot of things that need to be improved within the Sheriff's Department. As you had mentioned, the outgoing Sheriff Lee Baca had done some great things as far as community inclusiveness, as far as education-based alternatives such as rehabilitation and education in the jails. But quite frankly, there was some mismanagement that occurred. He didn't hold people accountable that should have been held accountable, and he trusted some of the wrong people. And so what I want to do is continue what was done right, but we need to stop what was done wrong and hold some people accountable and move on our way. It's not fair to drag the entire organization and the hard-working, honest men and women of the Sheriff's Department through the mud because of the actions of a few people.
Right, and that's always the case. I mean, there's always bad apples in the bunch. Go to the grocery store. Pick an apple out of the bunch. There's going to be a few that you're not going to want to buy.
No, that's true, but at the same token, we shouldn't try to serve it to the public, right?
No,
we should throw it away
absolutely
and
not. That's what I'm saying. You're not going to buy
yeah.
it. You're not going to buy it. I'm just saying that everywhere you go, there's always going to be something and somebody. And there's no organization that has perfect everything.
Right.
But the key is recognizing.
Yes.
Recognizing what's wrong and saying to yourself and saying to the people, we see what's wrong, and then listening to the people and saying, what is it? What did you see? Do you have people who've been through the system? What's wrong? So that there may be things that you don't know, that you don't see. And that's why I'm a firm believer in active community participation within our governmental organizations and our organizations like the police and the sheriff and the fire department.
Right.
So that the community can say what they need.
Right. And you know through a lot of your success in the community that strength and character and commitment comes from hearing what the true concerns are, hearing all sides, and I know that's where you get your passion. And I like to consider myself the same because, you know, mentors of mine are people like Connie Rice, Sweet Alice Harris, who I've been working with in the community for more than 25 years. I mean, this is a mentor to me, and that Sweet Alice has been on the front line, helping people on the front line for years, right? And so we need to follow people like that and really listen to what they have to say about the issues and take that direction, and then provide some input on your own as well. And, you know, I can stand on the podium on my own in the sense that I stand for some things too. However, I come from the backing of being mentored from powerful people like yourself and Connie Rice and Sweet Alice. That's where you get the strength of will and character to pursue exactly what it is you want to pursue.
So let's get down to some nuts and bolts, if we could. What would be the first 3 things that you would change if you were elected to be the sheriff of Los Angeles tomorrow?
Right. Well, that's at the heart of the question, and you know it is. And so we need to get right in there and continue these reforms. I mean, I was brought in after the allegations of misconduct in the jails as a commander with a group of commanders to come in and clean house. We worked with the jail commission to identify specific recommendations and then implement those reforms for the jail commission. And people were held accountable. So continuing those reforms is first and foremost. Making sure our law enforcement priorities are sound, meaning we need to continue. After we cleaned up the jails, I was promoted to assistant sheriff and commanded all of the patrol and detective operations throughout Los Angeles County. And that's because of soaring crime. And what we did through progressive strategies of prioritizing what's important to the community is we were able to focus on real serious crime and violent crime and not overreach for minor offenses, not overreach to the mentally ill where there's mass incarceration. What we need to do is set priorities in the future, too, so that the mentally ill, for example, who are housed in mass in our jail system are provided proper care and treatment facilities, quite frankly, by professionals who truly understand.
Right.
And we need to trust them and work and partner with them, with these professionals. I'm all about deputy sheriffs and their courage and commitment to the community. But I can speak for myself, knowing I signed up at 21 years old, just out of college, and I wasn't a licensed, skilled professional to interact and deal with mentally ill. You do pick up things over the years from professionals, but what we need to do is put the mentally ill in the hands of paid professionals who are good at what they do. Our deputies do a pretty good job, but we need to have it to be where it's professionals, where it's
the people who are trained,
correct,
for
trained
these
in that
things.
manner, and it's the more humane thing to do as well for those suffering from mental illness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's been a big problem, not just in the jail system, but in society itself.
Right.
With so many of our citizens who are mentally ill, who are just walking the streets with no resources or not the proper care.
Right.
And that's why we're seeing so many things spiral out of control, because that funding has been taken away.
It's so true. And you know, some of the political opponents will bring up political hyperbole to get people excited for the sake of the campaign. And then what I found with people who are overly political is then after the political storm, nothing happens. And so I don't want to do that. I want to have a real conversation. I'm in national forums throughout this country with other law enforcement executives of major law enforcement agencies, and it's exactly as you described. This is a national problem. But that being said, we're Los Angeles County, we're the Sheriff's Department, we should take it head on. So I'm not making excuses. What I'm saying is we should take it head on,
right.
But let's have a real conversation about how to implement these reforms and move forward, as opposed to raising this issue for the sake of political hyperbole.
Right. For the sake of a campaign.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so what would be your next thing? So
well, and
addressing
then finally,
the mental health issues.
Right. So, and it all does tie into the public safety. So you have public safety and public trust. The public trust coming from the reform, the public safety through focusing and prioritizing our efforts on real crime as opposed to overreaching for minor offenses or through the mentally ill. And then finally modernizing our sheriff's department to deal with the emerging threat of cybercrime, identity theft, and these advanced technologies.
Yeah.
You know, also that comes into factor is this new notion of cyberbullying. You know, these are issues that 10 years ago, if we talked about cyberbullying, no one would know what you're talking about. So we need an adaptive sheriff's department that's young and modern and you know, has traditional values as well for a work ethic that's strong, but also modern enough to adapt to changing and emerging threats. And that's what I want to bring. A lot of my opponents might say, well, he's only 46 years old. He's a young guy, you know, and all that. Well, what I like to say is I'm a 25-year professional, so I come with 25 years of experience, but I do have that young, youthful energy to bring that modern flair to the sheriff's department. And the Los Angeles County residents do deserve a modernized sheriff's department with the advanced technology, skills, and equipment and modern CSI for your sheriff's department. That's what we deserve, and when I'm sheriff, that's what I'll build.
Yeah, well, and that's definitely, I think, what the community is looking for, because I know as a parent and as a victim of
Yes.
identity theft, I remember 10 years ago, even when you would go to the police and say, hey, someone stole my identity, they just looked at you and said, oh, well,
You are
there's
so
nothing
right.
we can do. Sorry about that. I guess report it to your credit agency.
You are so right about that. And it really has everything to do with public safety, but probably in this case, public trust, because if deputies or police officers show up with a blank stare, as you described, because they don't know how to deal with that situation, it does erode public trust because they think, well, they don't even know what the heck they're doing, So we need to be more assertive and on top of things. And again, that's another situation where I interact with law enforcement executives throughout the country. It is a national problem, but what I say is let's have a sheriff's department here in Los Angeles you can be proud of that leads the effort to modernize law enforcement throughout the country, and I want to do that.
Yeah, it's going to have to be modernized. Cyberbullying, a thing that you brought up.
Yes.
At first it was kind of a cliche word that people say, oh, it happens to a few kids, but it is happening to adults.
Right.
It's happening to kids. Kids are being preyed upon by predators. Human trafficking is now happening online, luring kids to locations. And we're not talking about dumb kids. We're talking about a kid, I don't care how educated you are, kids are vulnerable.
Right.
When you say the right things to them on an internet and the predators know exactly what to say, they can lure them, and before you know, your child is gone.
You're so right on. And we need a total transformation of the way we think about public safety and public trust and modernizing our police force. What does that mean? It means, traditionally, even when I stepped on the department, it was all about decorum and making sure you were fit and had a close haircut, and things of that nature. But quite frankly, we may find subject matter experts when it comes to social media and advanced technology that have spiked hair and an earring, and we need to really, the point is, I'm being silly, but the point is it's true. I mean, you look at some of these geniuses at Caltech, they may not look like I look, like a traditional law enforcement officer, but they can certainly add value in modernizing our department and bring much more influence and smart technology than most law enforcement officers would ever be able to bring. So we need to think outside of our paradigm and really think a modern approach to law enforcement.
Well, you've got to, because whether we like it or not, technology is in our life to stay. It's not going away.
Right.
In fact, it's getting faster, smaller, and more intrusive.
Right.
Before you know it, it will be everywhere. I mean, I remember the movie Minority Report.
Yes.
When he walked into a store, the store immediately knew who he was, what he bought before, and immediately know, please come this way. Let's show you this. It's on sale. This is in the realm of what you like, and it's on sale. You might like it, without him ever saying a word to a salesperson. And when that movie came out, it seemed very far-fetched. That is not that far-fetched.
You're absolutely right.
You see it at the grocery store. When you swipe your card and put in your number, the coupons that pop out of the machine are coupons specific to you and what your history of buying is.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, you're absolutely right. It forecasted what to expect.
Yeah. I mean, you think it's out like, gosh, how do they know that I can use this coupon? I can use it, because it used to be you got a bunch of coupons. You're like, I don't buy this. Well, I don't even need these coupons. But now your coupons are based on what you buy.
Yeah, you're
for
absolutely
you.
right.
So that day is here. And if that day is here, that means crime has moved to another level.
Oh, you are so right. And it's not only about crime and public safety, but it's interesting. You brought up the analogy of Hollywood and whatnot. It's interesting where you can get inspiration from very smart and creative people. Leonardo DiCaprio was at a fundraiser of mine, and this man is very smart. He's very
quite
creative,
passionate.
and he's very passionate about the environment. And he really started motivating me to come up with a comprehensive, progressive plan for cleaner vehicles within the sheriff's department and being a leader in that regard. And so I've inserted that into my progressive vision for the future of sheriff's department. So modernization not only talks about public safety and public trust, but also the way we conduct business and forecasting things that you had mentioned for the future. So this is the kind of thing, and we can garner inspiration from so many people, not just in the law enforcement world. And Leonardo DiCaprio, he was actually a great inspiration to me, and I'm proud to have him supportive. But more importantly, I find him to be brilliant and actually very motivational in that way, it inspired me to come up with those ideas.
Well, because you're going to have to. in a city this size, moving forward, we better come up with some energy-saving tips, or we could be having brownouts and blackouts right and left.
You're right.
So that's it. It's important, and it's interesting that as a sheriff that you're thinking about that, because your vision clearly shows that you're thinking about the city as a whole.
Right.
Because if you're thinking that far ahead for energy use and things like that, because it all directly affects everything.
It does. You're so right on, because, someone might even say, well, why is the guy who's running for sheriff talking about clean energy and things of that? But it has everything to do with prudent use of resources. You know what the irony is first of all, it's the right thing to do. But in addition to the clean air, it's actually more economical in the long run. And that's what's ironic to it. It makes sense. It produces jobs. And so it really is the right way to go for when we talk about a modern approach where it's all inclusive, really.
Well, yeah. And just taking the very basic of it, you start having brownouts and blackouts, you start having more crime.
Right.
If there's no lights.
Right.
You know what happens when the lights go out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't, you don't have to watch a movie for that one.
Yep.
Well, he's running for L.A. Sheriff, and we're going to hear more from James Helmold coming up next. We've also got the Girl Scouts. They are in the house and just waiting to get on the air and tell you what they've been up to right here on the Community Review Hot 92.3.